Hi everyone, I am Stephen Drew from the Architectural Social, and I am joined here by a winner who has traveled around the world. I'm making him laugh. Sorry, already making you laugh. There you go, Jamiul Choudhury. Pleasure to have you here. How are you, my friend?
I'm good. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
Okay. All right, Jamil. I know I'm not the BBC. Okay. So now now that for anyone that's definitely not checked out BBC iPlayer lately, if you're a little bit sick of staying indoors because we're all in a lockdown and you want to remember what it was like traveling, and then definitely check out BBC's Race Around the World. Am I saying it right?
Race Across the World. Come on, Steve.
I know. Well, I'm not going to re-record it. We're just going to go in warts and all. All right. Race Across the World. Across the World. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. It was on iPlayer, and I thought, yeah, it was great. It was great. Season 1 was good. Season 2 was definitely really, really interesting. And it was great. It was definitely an eye-opener. I loved it. I thought the program was great. And so you're a contestant on there with your uncle. I find it's fantastic because basically you decide that you're going to build up your bond and that you're going to go and enter this competition and that you're going to go race across the world. So where it ropes in is, so I work at McDonald Company, which you have spoken to my colleague, Will Ridgway. And I said, yeah, I'm watching this program. And Will said, oh, yeah, the winner. Yeah, I've spoken to him. He's looking for a job right now. And I was like, you got to be kidding me. You got to be kidding me. So that's how this all came about. And so basically, here we are, right? It's after the race. And let's get to know you as a person. So I know you from running on the screen on the Race Across the World, jumping between buses, kind of winning, sometimes messing up because traveling is difficult. Yeah. But let's rewind the clock. So the bells of history path. Okay.
Let's do it.
Let's do the bells. The bells. So tell me, so did you always want to become an architect, study architecture?
Yeah, I mean, since I can remember, actually, me wanting to become an architect sprung from traveling as well. When I was younger, I went on a pilgrimage with my dad to Mecca.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, it was an amazing experience. But it was weird and wonderful at the same time because my dad's flight actually got cancelled. We went with a massive group of people. His flight got cancelled. So I was stuck in Medina with a group of people that I just didn't know on my own. And I got to see all of it on my own. And that's where my sort of love for travel sprung from and my love for architecture. I was so dumbfounded by this idea of people coming from all over the world to come to this one spot where there's just this black box and it was significant and it meant so much. It's just a form and it made no sense to me. But it brought so many people together and the space and the energy that you felt around it was just amazing. And from there on, I knew it's just what I wanted to do.
So they didn't have a clue that you'd done traveling already. That's a Wool exclusive, isn't it? We've just found out here that you're in preparation. But it's really interesting, isn't it? Yeah, well, no, it's helpful, isn't it? But what's interesting is travel does definitely broaden your perception of the world and architecture, and I can see how much you learned from it. So, all right, so you went on your pilgrimage, okay, and so you were in school, you decided to study architecture. So where did you study architecture?
I studied architecture at the University of Huddersfield.
Okay, great.
I did my bachelor's and my master's there.
Great. And so currently you're a part 2 architectural assistant. So that means that, you did your freshers, you had a little bit of a party in Huddersfield because this is pre-COVID. You've done your deadlines, you had a few giggles. Yeah. You've also had a few tears, I'm sure, at the printer being like, please God, please print. And, we've all been there. And so you did a year out as well, right? You've worked in industry already.
I have, yes. I've worked at an interior design firm, and I've also worked at an architecture firm in Huddersfield as well.
Okay, so you already have experience in the industry, which is awesome. And what were the kind of things you learned? So, which was your first role? Was it the interiors role, or
the interior design role was my first role, and it's something that I sort of carried on for a couple of years part time as well. I really enjoyed it. I got to meet some amazing people, and I really liked the practicality of the job. I was involved in all aspects of it. I was their go-to person when it came to sort of architectural drawings and interior design, just because I was able to do it faster than the people in the office or in-house. So I really enjoyed that. That was amazing. And a year following from that, I joined IQ Architecture in Huddersfield. And I worked on a number of different projects, but my main focus was residential projects. We did a lot of house extensions, and we also did a lot of community projects like mosques and centres where people could come together.
Amazing. All right. And it's really interesting, isn't it, when you work in practice? Because I don't know how you felt, but when I first went, you're like, I don't know what I'm doing. And then you get there and then you kind of help out and you learn these things that I remember that feeling of joining at first. But so this was really good experience that you've already got. So it sounds like you've got over a year's worth of experience in architecture. And so you returned to do your part two. Now I'm conscious of what would be good is to learn when you've done your part two and how the race across the world, where that all fit in, because we must be catching up towards the race and your studies, right?
Yeah. So I went in from a part two, and often I get a question asked, why did I go back into university for my part two, and why didn't I carry on in practice and do a level 6, 7 and go that route? And I think I just wanted to go back to university to develop my ability to design with concept. And it's something that I just couldn't grasp in my undergrad. So I went back for my part two because of that reason. And whilst I did my part two, my second year, whilst I was finishing it off, I came across a TV show called Race Across the World. And it just blew my mind. And I was like, why wouldn't I want to do this? If I could get an opportunity like this, it'd be amazing to travel the world, whether it be on a little budget, to see all of those places. Can't go wrong. So I applied, thought, why not? Gave my uncle a call. Actually, before I say any of that, I met my uncle again at my sister's wedding, which was in between my studies as well. It was there, but I was like, I haven't seen you in so long. What happened to you? You know, you disappeared. But he told me about it a little bit. We got involved and we started speaking. And so I came up to him with this TV show, and he was like, yeah, sure, why not? He thought,
he was like, whatever. We'll do it.
He was like, no chance. That's not going to happen.
Of course we'll do it. Yeah,
sure. So I signed us up for it. And we got an email back saying, yo, we want you to come forward and we want you to do an interview. And I was like, no, this must be a joke. This doesn't happen. Of course not. So I called him up. I told him we needed to do a video interview. I needed to send this video off and see if they want us for the next process. So he made a little video in his car whilst he was driving, thinking, oh, no, it's not going to happen. It's fine. And then we got chosen and went through the process, and we got very lucky, to be honest.
Wow, amazing. And so in terms of timeframes, because we'll talk about how it was, because I think watching it, what was interesting is quite clearly that, of course, the BBC is there to film it, but they really don't get involved. It really is down to you whether you win or not. And, you know, I think it was one of the other contestants, which was like, oh, really? I thought it would, you know, once the cameras would stop rolling, we'd get a glass of wine or something. But you guys were starving. You had the budget. And I got the impression that they were like, go on then. See if you can do it. And basically, if you were in the contestant and you lost the money, like one of the contestants lost money, they had to leave because you couldn't do it. So for anyone that wants to watch this program, my view of it, I quite liked how for TV, it felt genuine, because with The Apprentice. Sorry, Alan Sugar, if you're listening to my podcast. I'd be quite surprised if, with all your millions, if you are listening to my podcast. But I do respect what you do. What I would say that there's a level of it's edited, and with this, it felt quite sincere. So if anyone actually is in currently, again, a little bit fatigued with coronavirus or anything, it's definitely worth checking out. And I know that you did really well in the competition. I don't want to give anything away if anyone's listening, because I kind of knew what happened. But it's really, really intense.
I'm sorry, that was probably my fault.
Yeah. No, it wasn't. It was my colleagues. He was like, I spoken to the beep, and I was like, oh yeah. But it was really, really interesting. It was really, really interesting. And you're still there, yeah? Because you're frozen on my screen.
Stephen,
can you still hear me,
there's
Jamil?
a bit of lag with this internet right now.
So Jamil, you race across the world. We just lost you there. What's happening with your internet, huh?
I have no idea.
Don't worry about it. Yeah. So I know already what happened, and don't freak out about that, because we're going to record every time it cuts off. We're going to record, and we're still going to put it in, because you are a bit of a gem, and that's the point. When you get in your next job, then you probably be moving to London where you'll have high speed internet anyway. So no problem.
So fingers crossed.
Yeah. So when was the timing? When did you start? When was this being filmed, and how does it fit in with your studies?
So whilst I was preparing to submit my final sort of project and my dissertation and my thesis, I started applying for this show. And it was in between all of that I had to pop down to London every other week maybe, or once a month, and come back and go back and do all of these things just to sort of go through the process of getting chosen first.
Right.
And then we went on to film properly in September, I believe. That's when we headed out to Mexico. We were out there for, I don't want to sort of give away how long we were out there for, but it was a race from Mexico to Ushuaia, the bottom of Argentina. And it was an amazing experience. I can't really describe how crazy it was. I'm not going to say it was easy, because it wasn't. It was very hard. There were times where we didn't want to go on. There were times where we thought we couldn't go on, but we sort of persevered and fought and went through. Yeah.
Amazing. I definitely get that impression. And what I will say, without giving any details away for anyone, it's a lot more closer than you feel. If you ever watch one of the Top Gear specials, actually, where Jeremy Clarkson's racing with the other two, and it's quite tight. There was definitely that edge of the seatness where I was like, oh my God. Because there's a few scenes where I don't even give it away. And there's one with a bus stop, and you'll know what I'm on about, where I was just like, this is TV gold, man. You can't make this stuff up.
You can't. You genuinely can't.
No, it was really tight, really stressful. And what was quite interesting is, imagine that inadvertently, it is actually quite character building, because I used to have a recruitment business. I lead an architecture team, which is where Will's on my team. Will, if you're listening, you better be doing some work right now, even though I'm on the podcast. I'm watching you, Will. But you learn over time. And I remember when I had a recruitment business, I used to make excuses not to travel. I'm too busy. I can't do that. And last year or two, I've done a lot more traveling, and I was really scared with the idea of going traveling on my own. And I have a really close friend who actually had an accident, a motorcycle accident, where he's completely fine now. So don't worry. But at the time, he couldn't come on holiday, and we were going to go together. And I remember he's like, I can't get on the plane. And I remember thinking, like, are you saying I've got to go myself? And I was freaking out, and it's this idea. But then I actually went, what happens is I went away for a week, and I had a great time. I met new friends. You did it. You made your own journey. And now I have the confidence to do it. And it was super, super enriching. And I imagine that this kind of experience is the same as it's a super challenge. And now you've done it. You've learned so much about yourself, what you can do, how far you can push it. You're still there. Is your internet gone?
I am. I'm still here. I'm just seeing if we can sort it out in one way or another.
Don't really understand.
Ridiculous. It's because there's so many people in the house.
Do you want to just tell everyone, get off the Wi-Fi? Get off the
Wi-Fi, people.
This is real life. This is kind of what it's like, and this is a bit like what I like about the race is like things go wrong, people make wrong turns, health gets involved because it's really stressful for a few of the contestants. So you did all that, so you kind of conquered that world, and you had a bit of fun in the race, and you did really well. So now let's talk about post-race world. This is the bit that no one has seen yet, right? So you finished the race, and so at this point, had you finished studying architecture?
No, of course not. I'm studying architecture every day, and I believe that I'll do it for the rest of my life. It's just something that is ever changing, isn't it? Yeah.
So, but in terms of like officially, I know you're saying spiritually you study architecture forever.
Oh, right,
when did you when did you finish your part 2 though? Like just this year, right? So in June?
No, actually it was last year in June.
Right. And since then you've done a bit of work in the industry, but this year though, it's been a bit difficult looking for a job because of coronavirus.
Yeah, it's very much so.
So now where's in terms of priorities, so for the man who's been across the world, the goal right now is, where are you looking for in terms of jobs?
So I want to go to London because it's the place to be. I'm not going to lie. I love the sort of city. I didn't previous to my trip, actually. I'm not going to lie. I was scared of London. Every time I went down there, there was so much rush and so much panic everywhere I went. I didn't think I could cope, but I feel like it's the city for me now. I need to be there. I am looking in London. I do want to work in a great firm that prioritizes the sort of psychology of design and how people journey through it. If you look through my portfolio, it's something that I enjoy. I want to understand how people experience spaces and how that sort of affects them going on into the rest of their lives. And that's sort of the journey I want to take. I want to push that forward as much as I can. And I want to become qualified. That's the main aim, isn't it?
Amazing. I hear that. And it was quite great as well because of, I guess we've got to confront the fact that in the race you did really quite well. But away from what I was quite impressed is that you were quite generous in terms of giving back prize money towards charities, local charities. You've seen that, and I've seen your CV and portfolio, and the fact that you enjoy residential, the fact that you enjoy community aspects as well. I'm sure that kind of feeds into your architecture. In terms of any employers listening so far, you've used Revit for a few years, and you've got over a year's worth of experience in industry. So, we're going to link your CV and portfolio after this. But in terms of anyone listening now, so you're available next to immediately. You pretty much can move down to London. Yeah. You're ready to go. Yeah.
I'm ready.
And the employers, they can time you, right? I know how fast you got to destination. Yeah. So
I'll be there tomorrow.
You'll be there tomorrow.
You guys heard it here today.
It makes sense, but I think there's so much you have to offer. It's definitely an interesting one. There's been a lot of challenges this year. So like with the race, it's definitely a challenging environment right now. But my kind of vibe is, it's like the race. There is one winner. There's roles out there. There isn't people. There isn't. You know what I mean? There's roles, but you've got to be fighting fit. You've got to be ready. So you've got your CV, you've got your portfolio. We've got to do something about this awful internet. And your mum's messaging you right now, and you need to be like, "Mum, stop messaging me. I'm on the professional podcast."
You know what? It's funny because they're actually telling me mosque time soon, so get ready.
Don't worry, we're not going to be too long.
Cool. We're not going to be. I've got enough time.
We're not going to be all right. Let me go, Mum. It's okay. He will go to the mosque. All right, don't worry. All right, this is important. We'll always pray. No one can see because this is going to be audio that I've got my dictaphone here. That's just for you watching. Don't worry, Mum. Don't worry, man. We're not gonna get rid of prayers. Prayer's important. Religion's important. And I'm sure it's quite spiritual though, traveling actually, while we're on that subject. And
definitely.
Let me ask you though, is it super fatiguing being on them buses for ages?
Yes, very much. You just think that you go on a bus, you'll be able to chill out, relax, you sit down, you don't have to do anything. But that in itself is so strenuous because you're not in the best positions and you're huddled up like this next to your uncle.
I know.
Who's very sweaty and hasn't showered for a good few daes. So yeah, it is very fatiguing and struggling, yeah.
Because when I was studying my part one, me and my mum, we went on a bus ride because at the time we couldn't afford it to London, and that took 6 hours. And I was every time I see you guys on the bus on the show, I always laugh because basically I know how long that takes. Steven. I know how long that takes, and if it's a cut, it literally cuts in between the BBC just to basically turn it on and it cuts the show, and it's 20 hours of the bus ride gone. So I'm conscious that
Steven, I've lost you.
Your video is frozen again. Are you still there? Are you still there? Echo, echo. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. I think we've lost Jamil. I'll pause this and I'll be back in a second. Okay, Jamil, you're back.
Yeah, sorry, you were saying.
Don't worry, I'm here. It's fine. All your flatmates, don't worry. I get it. Coronavirus is stressful. Everyone's on BitTorrent. Just guys, just stop taking the whole bandwidth up. Don't worry, I've been in dorms. Everyone used to back when I was there. Adobe didn't have all their the student licenses they did now, so there was the black market of cracked software and all this stuff. So look, if you're a student or whatever, I don't know whether right now you're in student debt, but things are going to be downloaded. Okay, we need the jobs to pay for the TV licenses. So BBC, oh yeah,
exactly,
BBC.
Exactly.
We want to pay to watch the race around the world. It'll take a bit of time. But
I mean, it paid for me to go around the world, so
it did. It paid
pay your taxes.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, of course we do. But things happen when you're studying. So anyway, what we were talking about is how stressful it was, and I was saying that I've been on these long buses, and so it's quite funny that probably 2 minutes of you in a bus will make screen time, but that was actually 20 hours of you traveling, and that's because it's quite edited in a fast pace, and obviously it is a fast paced thing, but it's quite clear how long the journey was. So you're quite keen to come down to London. Now, I'm pretty sure that I've seen your CV and portfolio. You've got a lot of raw skills there, which is great. You've mentioned that you're available pretty much immediately. You can get going now. So you're going to keep sending out applications as well. So what's the game strategy right now for anyone listening?
So definitely the first thing to do is fix your CV and portfolio, do the thing, follow Architecture Social, and do the courses. You know what, Stephen, it's been a great help, man. I've looked at your YouTube channel as well, and that was a great help. There were things that I was doing that I just didn't know were either wrong or right, and I think it's a good way to sort of see your trajectory. So that's main thing. Fix my CV and portfolio to a point where I believe that it's good, and then just keep applying. Do what I've been doing. Contact agencies, contact firms, tell them that I'm available. Send off my CV. Follow up. Something that I haven't been doing is following up after I've sent my application. Obviously, from looking at your videos, I think it's just the way to go. So I have called up a few firms after watching those, and they've told me that the job's either been taken away or it's already been filled. I've asked them for feedback, so I've been able to get a little bit of feedback. But most of the time, it's difficult because the person on the phone isn't the person who's actually looked at your work. So it's just about going through the motions, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that's what I'm going to carry on doing.
Well, it'll be interesting because we'll put this podcast out there. So if any employers are listening, you've literally won a race. Okay, I've spoiled it, but I couldn't keep it on any longer. I think, look, Well, look.
Tried that whole time to not say
I couldn't do it. It's difficult. It's difficult. Well, it's already on BBC. I'm not spoiling anything.
Think about this, Stephen. Think about this. After we came back, I had to keep it the secret from my friends and family for 6 months before the TV show came out.
Wow, you got more willpower than me, and that's the point. You got willpower. You got dedication, and I think in character. I'm a bit biased because I've seen the series, but if I had an architectural practice, that kind of drive, that kind of tenacity is the kind of thing I'd be looking for. So I think half of it right now is you hit the nail on the head. People are busy. Right? And so we're going to put this out then. And so if people want to get in contact with you, what we'll probably do is maybe it would be good after we get your CV and portfolio on your LinkedIn or something like that. And maybe we remove some of your personal details so someone has to contact you, because I think that's generally good practice so that you don't get everyone and their mother ringing you up on your mobile asking you about the BBC race. But it would be good. Yeah, it would be good to get your stuff out there. But for anyone else listening, that's not obviously if there's employers listening, I think they should get in touch with you. I've seen your CV portfolio; it's good, and I think that what you've done on the race shows that you can go the extra mile. But for anyone that's also in the same boat and looking for a job, I really like what you said about getting your CV and portfolio and getting yourself out there. And in terms of the theme of the race, I think that the most obvious route isn't the best route. So in terms of job seeking, the most obvious route is going to be going on Design and waiting for a Part 1 architectural assistant role or a Part 2 architectural assistant role. But what you don't see with that is that you get so many people going for it, so it's already competitive. And actually, what you find in businesses is that a lot of jobs are not advertised because ideally you want to... There's something about timing at the right place at the right time. And it's a bit like in the race across the world of sometimes you remember there's one or two bits where you hitchhiking along the road, and it's a bit risky because you're sitting on that road and no one comes, or maybe you get someone passing through to the next destination and then suddenly you have a route there that none of the other competitors have and you're like, woohoo! And that's the same thing with looking for a job, as in the further you look and the further, because there can be great companies who haven't posted a job and they could be local to where you are. Look around on there, look around on Google Maps, find things, find the off the beaten track. It's literally a metaphor, which sounds like the race, but it's the truth. The same logic can be applied. So anyone listening, I think that's the way to go. And that's the way I would encourage a search. So, and it's the same thing now, Jamil, with what we're talking about, where I think what I would do in your position as well, we will put that out and your CV and portfolio will be there. But I think the same way I found the race inspiring, it's the same thing I would say here is about going off the beaten track. And so what I like to do is the same way that is what you call it in the race, the same legs. Now, this is the final leg. You've done the leg. Yeah, this is the final leg. This is the prep work. And I bet you bottom dollar that the job where you go to, and you will get one, is going to be probably one not advertised. It's going to be one that's going to be maybe not the company that you thought at first would be the right fit, but they're a good company. They're a good practice. You're going to learn a lot of stuff. And that's what a lot of people forget, is because, it's nice to work in Heatherwicks and it's nice to work in Foster's, but the company, which maybe is 5 to 10 man in size, that's doing residential schemes, yes, you can make a nice building and make a difference. Okay, maybe it's not going to be featured in design of the week, but it doesn't mean it's bad design. It means it makes a good impact for someone else and you learn stuff. And so I think those are the jobs I would encourage everyone to go to. So on this note, before someone else decides to download another film on BitTorrent, and I've enjoyed this conversation. Was there anything, let's have a bit of fun with it. Is there anything you'd like to ask me? And anything you like, and then maybe something you'd like to say to people in the audience, or?
Yeah, I mean, you've started this Architects Social, and you said that you started it in your furlough time. So how long has it been up and running now? It's been...
Architecture Social has been going for about 4 months. Basically, And I'll tell you the truth, is because recruitment is tough right now in terms of architecture. And so what a recruitment consultant does is I'm briefed by a company to find people. And right now it's all about retaining onto staff. And that's why what I did, or what I've done, comes from the point of view, because I used to be a part 1 architectural assistant and a part 2. And when I graduated, it was the 2009 recession. So it was the same thing of, I literally graduated and everyone was like, okay, that's great, but there's no jobs out there. And it was like this kind of fear, and it was genuinely scary. And I remember me and my friend Will McDaniel, he kind of inspired me a little bit, because he's like, well, I'm going to send, I was going to swear there, and Spotify going to ban me. I was going to send a lot of CVs. And I was like, how many? Are we talking 20 or 30? And he's like, no, hundreds. And then I literally got the Reba list. And this is a tip for anyone else. If you want to go ultra canvas everywhere, you go the Reba A to Z list, and you go A, and you email them, and you go A, and you go that way, and you send out emails to everyone, because now is a time where probability that is actually your help, is your friend. So if you send 1,000 CVs, the odds on you getting an interview is much higher. And of course, every employer would love for that person who really wants to work in that practice to email them. And you should send those things, but there's nothing wrong with you doing a big search of finding people. But to answer your question, that's what was the inspiration for the Architecture Social, because I felt that it would be nice to impart that knowledge. And it's like when you called up to speak to us. Now, the reason you called up is because there's a job board called Nuvo, which likes to repost our part 2 architectural assistant role from months ago, and keeps going up. And then what happens is that you get talented people like yourself who ring up and there's no job there. But that's why it was really helpful, is because I felt in terms of recruitment, it's very hard to give a part 2 architectural assistant, part 1, the kind of the advice they need. So I felt it would be good to set up a community where one of the things I would talk about in it is all my advice on how to get a job. Now it's kind of morphed into a bit more where you've got book clubs and this crazy stuff and really cool ideas. And I kind of would like to expand around the idea of open conversation where people can bring what they want. So for instance, it could be, a bit inspired of what you did with Race Across the World. Maybe there's a section I've been thinking about that I'd probably launch on that after COVID, because it's a bit difficult, or maybe during, might be nice, where people can talk about travel, talk about where they've been, what they've seen. That would be quite cool, because
that would be really cool.
Yeah, because on Facebook, I think Facebook, I gotta be careful what I say. I think is an evil company. Sorry, Mark Zuckerberg, if you are a real person. This is so evil. And LinkedIn is and LinkedIn is better, but I gotta be careful because I'm gonna live stream on LinkedIn. LinkedIn's good, but it's harder to have, like, I've been in a lot of LinkedIn groups and I feel like there's nothing there, or the content isn't as real. And so the goal with the social is to have meaningful conversation, but that is really hard to do because it requires everyone participating. And what's really nice is that people are coming out of their shells, sharing little bits. You shared your awesome article in The Age. There's a bit of conversation going. And look, you don't need to be on there all the time. But what I'm on about is I want it to be that if you want to be there and you just want to chill out and look at some stuff, great. If you want to comment on 1 or 2 things, great. But if you've written like a job post or anything, to get involved. And it's like this conversation now, this organic conversation came from the fact that you rang up Will, even though there wasn't a job there. Then you joined the social, and I was watching Race Across the World, and I was like, this is quite surreal, and also it would be good to have a conversation.
This is crazy.
Yeah, but then it's funny that, like, in my head, you're the guy I've seen on TV, and then before this, you were like, oh yeah, I've seen your videos, and you were like, oh, I'm a bit nervous, and I'm like, you're nervous. I'm interviewing someone on BBC. Which is crazy. But that's the point, and that's the connections. And what's been cool about the Arctic Social is that there's some employers on there already. And so we will put this out, and your CV and portfolio will be there. for employers if they want to look for it. But I think in the true fighting spirit that you had, which got you through the race across the world, I bet £1,000, not really, because I've been part-time fellow. I need to save up as well. But I bet that you get the job for yourself. And I think it's that thing. And we've talked about your CV and portfolio, and we've talked about constructively what to change. And actually, I didn't really say much. A lot of these changes you've done yourself, and they're amazing. And I think I had a little look at your CV and portfolio, and I think it's good. So we're just going to get it out there. So last leg, okay? Destination is London. You're going to let us know. You're going to let us know how you get on. So we're going to summarize here. So you're available to contact on the Architecture Social, but also LinkedIn. We're going to post on the LinkedIn, a link to your LinkedIn. In some shape or form, if people want to get in touch, they can get your CV and portfolio as well. But what I think would be awesome for the community is we've talked about what you've done before. They're the last legs. We don't need to know about the last legs. It's the same thing. Right now, it's the same amount of pounds you got in your pocket on the last leg. And what I mean by that is we are where we are. It's the race to the line. So what would be really interesting is think of it like a little experiment. When you get a job, it would be fantastic for the community to know how many emails you sent, maybe, how many CVs you sent, how many follow-ups, and how many interviews. And because I think that would be really helpful information to help everyone. So should we call this the race across the, what's a catchy name? What can we call this race? The race, the architecture race to London. Maybe?
Let's call it that. I'm sure we could think of something catchier, Stephen. Come on.
I don't know. You're the BBC celebrity. I'll think about it. Right. We're going to do a race. We're going to do a race. And then we're going to see how long it gets to the job. And
we'll call it the race to architectural London.
No, actually, when you said it, I was like, no, it's right. It's not that. Like,
no, it doesn't work, does it? It doesn't work. The architecture kind of puts it off. But the race to London is true. That's where I want to be. And,
maybe it's the race to your next role. Race to the role.
I like that.
So yeah, we're getting closer. We'll post the official name after this one. Yeah, Rome wasn't built in a day. Okay, all right, we'll work on it. But look, really fantastic. I'm loving the enthusiasm vibe, and it is difficult right now, and that's the point. We're acknowledging it's difficult. Anyone listening that's finding it difficult as well, you're not alone, but you can do it. If you can race across the world, you can get your architecture job, and that's the kind of person I personally would want to hire. So thank you so much. You're on LinkedIn. You're on the Architecture Social. I'll post a link after this. Thank you so much for being a guest.
Thank you so much for having me.
No worries. Thank you. We'll leave it there. You. Let me know how you go. Heroes.
I will do.
Where's the hero song? Well done. Well done. You won the race. Well done. Thank you. All right.
Yeah, can't wait to tell you about my journey. Hopefully soon.
Fantastic. Bye-bye. See you later.
Bye.